All right, welcome back, folks. So today is finally the day. We'll talk about. I've listened to the comments, I've read them all, and I really appreciate some of the recommendations and the suggestions for some of these ingredient products. I really wasn't sure if people were really interested in these retro models as much as I am into them, and so I appreciate them giving these comments. So. I made a couple videos. I wasn't sure what to do, what to talk about, and so I got some good feedback, and so I'm going to try to lump them all into this video, and hopefully this video won't last too long, but I want to kind of like talk about a lot of the features of these, especially since the holidays are coming, and then everyone's going to be wanting to see if it's worth it to get some of these AG, I'll call it AG for short, products here. Now, what was interesting is I didn't know this, and thanks to some of my subscribers, they were mentioning that these are both AG receivers here, and I didn't know that AG actually sold them individually. I thought they now only sold them in like parts of the both complete set, and so it totally makes sense why people want to know if they only got the upper here or the upper on this one here, if it would fit on the original Tokyo Marui part, or at least the lower part of the Tokyo Marui. Now, for one, I don't know if I can entirely recommend it. We will talk about that in a little more detail. I don't know if I entirely recommend that because the color will be different. It is cheaper, I think by half, but I think the color is they just don't match up very well, and it depends on the model that you get to. So for example, if you notice here, this is the A1 or the A1E1 style receiver because it has like the brass deflector on the other side, even though it has the A1 style upper here. It's kind of a darker gray, more almost a hint of a bluish darker gray color, and this color is more closely resembling to the Marui lower than this one here. This is the A2 version. This is the right here, actually this is the Colt M16A2 GI issue version model here. So this one's more of like, this is actually my favorite color actually. It's like kind of like a grayish, like a Colt gray or XM gray, I think is the official color name of it. But this definitely does not match very well in terms of it's like day and night when you compare them and when you add the two receivers together. So that's for one thing. Unless you're planning on painting it over, which would be a shame because the Cerakote coating on the Marui is just top notch. It really is really good. This one, I don't think this is Cerakote. I forgot what it was, the coating. I'm not sure. I gotta double check that later on. But it's also a very nice color. It's a different process though, but I think it really should be gotten together. Now, let's say you don't care about the color differences, and in fact maybe you want the color differences, or you're just going to paint it over anyway, it doesn't matter. We're going to try to see if we can attach these two together, or the uppers to the Marui lower. Now, I did do a video earlier where we've discussed about how I was taking apart this M723 right here, and basically I took off the lower here and attach this lower to a Tokyo Marui upper, and it worked in that video. We were able to shoot a couple rounds, or two magazines I think it was, in the round, and it worked without any issues. Now the only problem though, of course, is when we were disassembling it or trying to take it apart again. And I've noticed though that it is not easy, because when you have an open Tokyo Marui, you can open up like the little car hood, open up very easily, and it would be rather easy to do. This, however, when it's mated with the Marui, it's just very difficult. I was able to do it in the end, but it took me like 10 minutes to do it. I was a little reluctant to try again, but I will try it again this time. But I'll use, instead of using the Marui upper with the the AG lower here, I'm going to do the AG upper with the Marui lower to see, because that's the real question a lot of people were asking. Now, if it works with this one, it should work with this one as well. So we'll just do one just to save time here today. But essentially they're the same. And kind of, to be honest, I don't have the nerves to do it with this one because this is like my favorite like model here. And if I ever had to like, it was stuck to the point where I had to like knock out, I really don't want to damage this one. So I'm willing to try it for this one right here, but I'm a little nervous about trying it with this one right here. But anyway, so we'll talk about it in a little bit, and we'll do some firing tests with them. I do want to point out though that officially I was able to put these pieces together for this model right here using nothing but Tokyo Marui parts, except for obviously the shell right here and the stock and the handguards here. Everything else is stock Marui parts. So this model here, I didn't really build this one. This one just came from the store that way, where it has they swapped out the parts with Marui parts. Like basically the only thing that's Marui in this thing is, I think, like the barrel and the upper sight post. Oh, and the charging handle here. Everything else is like either AG parts, Mad Dog, or Guns Modifier or something. I can't remember the brand name. Those are the ones that are available for it. And honestly, in my opinion, I think I prefer to stick to just Marui parts and just change the receiver if you were to go for that. And let me just give you a little bit details about it real quick and tell you what works and what doesn't work. So this one right here, let's start from the back. This one here, if you notice here, this is obviously this isn't the 6-position stock, the LE stock, the slanted LE stock that comes with the model originally. After you take it apart, you'll notice that this one's a standard mil-spec car 15 stock right here, and this stock here it wasn't quite designed for this tube right here because or this buffer tube, because that's why it's sticking out a little bit, just like that. Now it's not as bad as the other one. So if you, for example, use the Mad Dog stock that came with this model here, it's really shiny and it sticks out a lot more than this one right here. This one's not that bad, to be honest with you, so it's not bothering me that much, but it might bother some. But this is still an original Tokyo Marui stock buffer tube right here, and 6 position. It's funny because this one right here has uses I think it's either a Guns Modifier or AG or Mad Dog buffer tube, yet it also has 6 position, even though this one is designed for the car 15 stock. That's why it's like flat, it's flushed with the end of the stock here. This is also not a mil-spec stock right here, but this is actually a stock for an actual car 15 right here. A lot cheaper though than this one, because this one's actually from Brownells with a mil-spec. This one's just some cheap, but they're not that much different, to be honest with you. So if you find one for 20-30 bucks, it's probably not that much different from the one that's like 50. So if you don't care so much about the little buffer tube sticking out, it's probably not a big deal for you. But again, I would definitely recommend the changing out the stock. I don't recommend the Mad Dog stock that comes the vintage car 15 stock from Mad Dog. Just get a Brownells one. Before I forget, this is the stock tube that's from the Mad Dog one. Don't really recommend it. It sticks out. If you use it, it does fit on both of these, but it sticks out with the tube. Shinier. Plastic material is not as good, obviously, so don't really recommend. You might be able to change out the buffer tube if you want to, but I don't think that's really necessary in my case. The next thing I want to point out though is why I prefer the Marui part, using as many Marui's part as possible, is I don't know what this part is called right here. It's like the end plate. If you'll notice right here, the end plate here is essentially flushed, right? It fits perfectly. It's almost like it was designed for this model, right? And it looks seamless. If you compare that, for example, though, on the other hand, with this model, this one was the one that came from this. Look how like it's overlapping. Like notice how this part here. Let me point this out. Notice how it's like it's not completely flush. It's overlapping. So if you look on the other side, same thing. It's sticking out, it's jutting out right there. So I don't know. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be like a hole, like right there, whereas if it's the one on the Marui is there is indent, but it's like solid, so it doesn't like stick into. This one sticks straight into the end of the receiver. So that's kind of a little. It looks a little sloppy. Not a big deal, but it is a little bit sloppy in my opinion. And so again, that's another point for using Marui parts. Next comes the selector switch. This one, it just clicks. This is all original Marui parts, so it clicks how original Marui would click. Just like that. Which is nothing special, right? If you had a Marui, you know that's how it clicks. This one, however, uses like all different. I'm gonna leave a list on at the back of this video of all the parts they use for this model, because it's different. Their internals are completely different, and you notice that the click sounds, it's not bad and it is distinctive, but it clicks in different parts. So listen. Okay, that's normal, but watch this. It already clicks, then clicks again, then clicks again. So see, it's like it clicks into this mode for some reason before it clicks. So again, it's not a big deal. It's still pretty distinct, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be as fine-tuned, I guess. Same thing with this bolt catch button right here. For some reason it's pressed directly against like the side of the upper receiver, and so there's little like scratch marks onto the receiver because of that. Whereas on the Marui, it doesn't actually make contact with the upper, doesn't actually physically contact the upper receiver. There's no scratch marks. So that's something to take away. Let's see here. The rear sight is interesting. This part, and this is, feel free to chime in if you guys know, this is the A2 style rear sight here. This is actually the max that this will go up on. And I don't know if there's a difference in terms of the A2 sight for a fixed carry handle versus an A2 sight for a detachable carry handle. So, amend it. This, by the way, is the upper on a real steel model here. You'll notice that it goes past the top part here, right? And you can adjust it that way. Now, I don't know if there's a difference because this is a detachable one, if the design's different. I thought an A2 model was an A2 model. It doesn't really matter. So if you guys know if this is just not done correctly, let me know, because I'm kind of interested. I don't want to use this model here because I think this might fit, because honestly speaking, this one right here is, in terms of structural build, is a lot more similar to a real steel, because there's like a little ball bearing down here that helps as it serves as a detent pin. It looks a lot more similar to this real one than an actual Marui. You can see, I'll put up a picture here of a Marui. The rear sights are a little bit different. Obviously, remember the Marui is a fixed one, so it's similar to this one right here. But the Marui also extends above the handle part right here as well. So, but unfortunately the Marui, that's the only part that doesn't fit onto the rear sight here. So that's kind of a thing. Not that this matters a whole lot. If you really want to get higher elevation, you can just tap out the pin at the bottom right here, and that way you can adjust it. Because remember, that pin only serves to hold the rear sight from being dialed way out of its position, basically. So as long as you remember that, you can you'll be okay. And also remember, there isn't that thing. I was a little disappointed with AG for not including that little. It's like a little spring that holds this part in position, so it doesn't wobble when it's up in its position like this. So I have to use like a little O-ring to kind of jam it in there just to keep it from moving around too much. Not huge issue, and it's not that obvious, but an easy fix. But I wish it was they spent a little bit more time on that part of it. Also, if you notice that despite the cost, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'll get a better camera angle in a little bit. But the markings on the dial here, it's a little sloppy. If you were to compare that to, for example, this one right here, this is the actual real steel one. You'll notice that the markings are a lot more clean. Maybe that's how Colt did it back then. I don't know. So just something to point out. The other thing is, for some reason, and it is the forward assist. I know a lot of people find this very controversial, and people don't think there's any advantage to it. That's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to just talk about, you know, if you want one that exists, this one here is an original Tokyo Marui forward assist button. I took it off my Marui. However, before I go there, the original one that comes with the AG kit right here is a one without teeth, so it's a non-functional button. And so if you use it with this in this model, it wouldn't work anyway. So the Tokyo Marui one originally is a functional one. It has a little teeth on it. But when you install it onto this, for some reason, if you press on it, it's the part back here is there's a little ledge back here that prevents the teeth from fully engaging with or serrations on the bolt here. So even though the Marui is supposed to work, it just will not actually engage. So this is just for fun at this point. So I guess there really isn't a difference if you use this one versus the Angry Gun one, which is kind of weird because I don't know why they Angry Gun or AG didn't include a functional one, because they sell ones with the teeth on it that actually engages, or just at least supposed to be designed to engage with the bolt. But for some reason, the model they include doesn't have anything. It's like a flat. It's like an AG for the electric model. It's like a dummy button right there. So that's one thing. I think I've made a video specifically talking about the cosmetics and the markings, the proof markings on the side. Looks cool, looks awesome. That's something we're not going to focus too much on that today, since we've already made a video of that. But I will say it is probably my favorite. This is probably the one I've always wanted, and I've always this is the color I wanted. This is the specific style one. I love the A2 model, but has to be fixed carrying handle. It's my favorite, and of course slim short rib handguards and classic car 15 stock. I don't care whether it's this is supposed to be 4 position, but I don't care. This is 6 position, but that's not a big deal for me. And then I talked a little bit about last time about how the dust cover. This is an original Marui. Again, everything is pretty much original. This one actually closes, as you can see right here, whereas the one from here uses I wish I should have looked this up before I did this video, but this is used a special one. This is by, again, it's either AG or Guns Modified or Mad Dog or whatever it was. It doesn't actually close because you can't close it. The only way to close it is if you actually press down on this part here and then try to push it in to make it close. But then when you do that and you try to cycle the bolt, it's not going to flap or flip open. Basically, it's stuck in that position. So you really have to leave this in the open position if you want to have an open ejection port like this. So again, that's another reason why I want to keep as many stock Marui parts as possible. In this case, it actually closes. However, it's not perfect either, because when I pull it back, normally when you pull this charging handle head back, the bolt will reciprocate and it will kick this door open, and then it will kick the door open. But in this case, when the bolt passes a certain little part right here, it won't kick open. The door will slide open a little bit, but it's still kind of stuck, and it could be because it's still new, that you need to let the bolt ride forward, and that the vibration from that will kick the door open. So let's see if I can do it again. Oh, well, maybe it's fixed now, but it doesn't always open that way. Sometimes if you do it, it will stay open, and then you have to rely on the bolt coming forward like this for it to have enough shock or whatever vibration to open it. Not a big deal, but again, just you know, a little something I've noticed there, and it could be just because again it's a little bit new and like it's a little bit stiff right now. The other thing is at the beginning, I didn't notice that I used the wrong, or I didn't tighten the front or the what's that? It's like the locking nut. It's not the slip ring, but it's the locking nut under this very tightly, and yeah, I thought I closed it, but there was still like one more revolution I could have done, and because that it was still like wobbly. Funny enough, though, that didn't really affect like the accuracy that much, but it was just really annoying to have it kind of wobble just a little bit. So I decided to take it apart and just tighten it up again. So it fits perfectly now. It's no movement or anything like that. Now let's go back real quick to the magazines here, because I know some people are probably looking for it. With the magazine, this year I had to label it 727 right here, because this one, if you'll notice, fits in perfectly. All right, watch this. And observe that little release lever right there. If I push it in, boom, clicks into place, just like that, right? It's secure, it's in the magazine. However, if I take a different one or any other magazine, notice how it's not clicked in place. Now, if I want to, I could, it still fires this way, right? But you have to, some of them are a little bit stiffer than others, and you have to kind of push it down. And I wonder if it's just because it's not like worn in, sort of, or used, or you haven't broken it in yet, basically. This has never been an issue for any of the original Marui system. There aren't any feeding issues, and if you fire this for a little bit, it will eventually pop back into its flush position. And some of them I would have to, like the short mags or the 20 round mags, I can push it in a little bit, but it's just something that doesn't affect it. It still fires normally, but it just does have issues. Now this one I use green gas because it's for this one, and so it requires a little bit stronger gas pressures. This one I use the mix, mostly Duster, with a hint of propane to help shoot it a little bit better. But overall, let me show that on the camera. So this is like a short mag right here, right? Loaded in. So notice how it's still sticking up just a little bit. This one, for example, I could just push it in. There we go, and it's perfect. And it still locks back and everything. It's totally fine. But again, it's a minor difference that I want to point out. Now, one thing though, and I wonder about the guys who, I saw this one guy who had this, I was talking about these guys earlier who had this model, and they had issues where it almost broke their nozzle. I think a lot of people are concerned about that. And I wonder if those guys, when they bought their upper, because I think they only had the upper, they didn't have the lower part. I wonder if there was, what was it called? This little blue insert in the let me concentrate on this real quick. There's a little blue insert inside the yeah. So again, by the way, that's all Marui parts in the original. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this box right here is normally very difficult to remove. I actually destroyed this screw by mistake when I removed it. See my last video. But the good news though is that with the original Marui, you have to, this box fits, it's a very tight fit, and you have to basically use like a hammer to knock it in, at least at the beginning until it gets more worn out. In this case, however, it slides in right nice and easily, and it's really held together just by this pin right here at this point, and this little magazine catch here. So despite the bolt being ruined, or the screw that normally goes in there, you know what I'm talking about, right? Right there. That's not really super necessary. Anyway, so what I was saying earlier is, let me take this second one out, just to show here. Hold on. Okay, so this is just the upper component right here. There's a little blue piece of plastic, or navy blue piece of plastic right here. Now, this white stuff is like that flex seal I used to just glue it on so it doesn't fall out. This is actually really important because you need this to prevent the magazine from riding too high into the bolt here. Without this part, I've tried, because I almost was about to throw this part out. I didn't think I thought it was just like a shipping piece of or a piece of, packaging basically to keep them from smacking together or whatever. And without this causes all these jamming and loading issues with it. So be very careful. This part is attached to, as a separate part, attached to a separate piece of plastic that prevents the magazine from going too high. So I'll show you some videos right here where basically I have a lot of loading issues with it. And so now that's why I glued it on there. And I have the same blue piece in this kit. So one of the guys who had loading issues didn't have that, or either was missing that part or not. It's funny because on the Marui, it's the same piece, but the Marui, theirs are built into the metal receiver. It's not a separate insert like this one here. So be very, very careful of that piece. Because I think that could explain a lot of that tiny piece of plastic is really important. I don't know why they chose to use plastic for such an important and critical piece of operations here. All right, so I think that's the majority. Oh, and by the way, there's a video already that people have done about the accuracy where they compared like this model with all original pieces, Marui pieces, that model with whatever the upgrades they use to send it with the original untouched Marui with the original parts, and the accuracy were pretty much the same, minus the calibration and where it was the shots were landed. The important thing was the group size were essentially the same. So we won't focus too much on the accuracy today since there are already videos out there about that, but today we will try to take this upper here, this AG upper, and mate it with the TM lower. So let me go grab that real quick. All right, so here we are. We have an original Marui here, lower receiver, with the standard LE stock, the slanted 6-position stock right here. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for. If you have this original part right here, again, everything here has been unchanged. It's the original, all the parts are original. So the question is, will this model here fit with an AG upper? So let's see. Hopefully it does. And again, this one I never really glued the what's it called? The little, I don't know what's called, the little blue insert down there. I never really glued that in there down. So be careful, but it is there. So hopefully, theoretically, that should keep things in play. And then hopefully. Oh, and by the way, this is the damaged part I was talking about. How the bolt catch smacks on this, because the parts aren't really, if it was a Marui, it doesn't cause this damage right here because it's not scratching against the surface, but this one uses a different custom part or whatever. So let's see if we can put these two parts together, and hopefully there isn't an issue. So far so good. Hold on, let me, uh-oh. And this is what I'm talking about. This is where, just like before, while it fits, it was a nightmare to remove this. And this is also the color gradient. I was talking about how it's not obvious, but you can clearly see that they're different colors. So let me see if I can. I don't think I can even close this yet. Hold on. Shoot. This is what happened last time again. So for some reason it's not properly seating. Look at that, it's like misaligned. Shoot. Because in that last video I was able to fit the Marui upper with an AG lower, but this does not look like it's budging. Shoot, hold on. Hey folks, so I tried and I cannot get the, it's weird how it works the opposite way, which doesn't make sense to me why I can't get it to lock. I wonder if it has something to do with the parts inside. Either way, it doesn't look like it's a quick drop and fit, or drop and play, whatever, for that situation, because this, if you take this again, this is the original Marui lower, and this is the original Marui upper. It fits in. I tried the exact same thing when I try to push this part back to the rear, because I don't like to slam it in. I like to just push it back and then push it in. Oops. And it fits just like that. It closes nicely. For some reason, I can't. It's. Hold on. Yeah. Well, I haven't been able to fully push it in yet, but believe me, it's a much easier fit. I just need to knock those pins in a little bit. It's a little bit stiff right now, but I guess that's a big letdown, unfortunately. Wow, I'm glad I actually tested that because it didn't really work out. So if anyone else has any better experience with this, let me know. But that did not seem helpful. So in a nutshell, probably going to get both. It could be maybe sometimes there's just some inconsistencies in between the design models. So if you were to get them, try to get both of them. That way you get them similar matching colors, and you don't have to worry about this potential. It could just be me, I've got the unlucky one right here, but Marui specs are always built to very good tolerances, so you can expect the Maruis to always be the same. Maybe the AG upper here was just built, I got the unlucky one where it wasn't exact, the tolerances weren't as good, and so maybe other people might have one that might fit a little bit better. What a bummer. But to avoid that, I would probably recommend at this point that you don't get just the upper and mate it with the Marui. All right, folks, I think that's all for this video. It's probably 3 hours long by now. So I'm a little disappointed actually at this point, but hope you all found this at least interesting, at least somewhat helpful, and that's all I've got for today. See ya.